It's finally here, what conspiracy theorists and historians alike have been waiting for 60 years. The release of the unredacted, highly anticipated JFK assassination file.
There's really no bombshell here. There was no one else behind Lee Oswald, from any of the evidence we see at this point, helping him accomplish this.
Trump made the document dump one of his campaign promises.
A lot of people are waiting for this for years.
Just days after taking office, he signed the executive order calling for the release, along with the government's files on the assassinations of RFK and MLK Jr.
It's going to be released tomorrow. We have a tremendous amount of paper. You've got a lot of reading.
There really isn't that much new, at least in the part that we have examined so far. But we have learned quite a bit about the CIA.
The new information is not about the assassination itself, but reveals sources and methods, including names and personal information of CIA operatives and contacts, and espionage tactics of the 1960s. One of the files, known as the Schlesinger Memo, showing some of Kennedy's closest aides did not trust the CIA and were skeptical of its motives. Another showing the CIA was wiretapping Soviet and Cuban telephones at their diplomatic facilities in Mexico City, locations Lee Harvey Oswald visited in the months before the assassination. The release also including the personal information of people still living, including social security numbers of former congressional staffers.
Even 60 years later, there's this whole aura of glamour around the Kennedys, around the president and his wife and his young family, and what it represented for America at the time. It was a revival, essentially, of the youthful spirit of the country.
From JFK's charisma as the youngest man ever elected president.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
To his wife Jackie's iconic style and grace.
Mrs. John F. Kennedy, looking happy and radiant.
To his alleged secret affair with Marilyn Monroe. To the horrifying assassination that played out on television on November 22nd, 1963.
President Kennedy has been assassinated. It's official now. The president is dead.
The famous amateur home movie, filmed by Abraham Zapruder, capturing the moment. President Kennedy seemingly hit twice, slumping forward, then suddenly jerked backwards. The First Lady leaning over him, then climbing toward the back of the car. Nat Geo spoke with that agent, Clint Hill.
Mrs. Kennedy was screaming. They shot his head off.
Until his death last month, he remained haunted by Kennedy's death.
I should have been able to do more than I did. I wasn't fast enough.
The First Lady boarded Air Force One with Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson, still wearing her blood-stained pink suit, as Johnson was sworn in as president. My colleague Deborah Roberts speaking with one of Jackie's biographers.
Jackie did not want to take the outfit off. She wore it for many, many, many hours after, and the stockings were covered with blood, and there was blood on the pink dress and on the jacket. It was because that's what she had left of Jack. I think that the trauma of PTSD colored everything in her life. She felt like the least she could do was mourn him forever.
Law enforcement quickly arrested Lee Harvey Oswald, a 24-year-old former U.S. Marine, a known communist sympathizer. Police say Oswald shot Kennedy from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, then fled.
The conspiracy theory started flowering right away. One, it was such a shock, such a horror to the country's heart and mind, that the notion it could have been perpetrated by this rat-faced little loner loser, it just didn't equate, it didn't add up. They wanted it to mean something bigger.
Oliver Stone's 1991 movie JFK really brought the notion of a conspiracy around the death of John F. Kennedy into popular culture. And it gave rise to this notion that there could have been more than a lone gunman.
The film starred Kevin Costner as Jim Garrison, the New Orleans district attorney who claimed there was a conspiracy to kill Kennedy.
This was a military-style ambush from start to finish. This was a coup d'etat with Lyndon Johnson waiting in the wings.
The film explores the controversial theory that Lee Harvey Oswald was a scapegoat, something his own brother disagreed with.
I'm absolutely convinced that Lee did it alone.
I would say that, without doubt, in my opinion, it's impossible for Oswald to have killed Kennedy alone. I also believe that elements of the government are the only ones possible to have arranged a a coup of this size and of this magnitude.
The film also looks at the so-called single bullet or magic bullet theory, that only one bullet shot both Kennedy and the Texas governor, who sat in the front seat.
Cyril Wecht is a top forensic pathologist and expert, and he says never before in the history of gunfire has there been a bullet like this that has behaved like this.
In the aftermath of Kennedy's death, the family became even more famous. Jackie Kennedy coining the term Camelot when referring to the optimistic and idealized image of the Kennedy administration.
I think Camelot in some ways represents the very best of American values. John F. Kennedy was trying to get us to think about something greater than ourselves, about having a purpose in what we do.
But there was also the so-called Kennedy curse. JFK's younger brother, Robert, assassinated 5 years later as he ran for president. JFK's only son, often having to answer the question of whether he'd follow in his father's footsteps. He spoke with Barbara Walters about it.
Do you have any desire for politics, or is that something in your own head you ruled out?
No, I don't rule out anything. Public service should be something that you bring wholly yourself to. And I have sort of a life to live before I want to think about that.
He, too, died young in a small plane crash in 1999 at age 38, alongside his wife, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, and her sister, Lauren. The family remains in the spotlight to this day. JFK's great-nephew, Patrick Schwarzenegger, turning heads in this season of HBO's White Lotus.
I mean, I know I tell you this all the time, Dad, but I love working.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now leads the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, nominated by Donald Trump.
He is now serving in the Republican administration of Donald Trump. It's caused a rift in the family, some of his views and actions, and I think it's changed the picture of the Kennedy family a little bit.
RFK Jr. has supported the document release, telling the NBC affiliate in May.
I think it's a great move because we need to have more transparency in our government, and he's keeping his promise to have the government tell the truth to the American people about everything.
The Kennedys have largely stayed silent since the announcement, minus JFK's only grandson, Jack Schlossberg, criticizing the media, posting this video to Instagram yesterday.
This is so stupid. There's so much actual news going on. Why are you covering this? At least report that something happened.
It's important to remember this is a human event. And for the Kennedy family, it's a family catastrophe, a family tragedy.
There are still thousands of documents that have yet to be released.
There are 80,000 papers that we need to go through, so it will take weeks or months to put all these dots together in some coherent fashion. As it stands, there is, again, no great revelation that we have seen, and I'm not sure that there will be.